Hello. If you have ever done customer support work, you will know that it is a rare case that the customer asks you a question with enough context information so you could give him a good answer. In those rare cases, you could leverage natural language processing, generative pre-trained transformers, your knowledge bases, and give a customer a solution to his problem, like everyone does nowadays. Most of the time, you will need to ask additional follow-up questions to correctly identify the issue and give a solution. To know what questions to ask so you could figure out the problem fast, you need to have expertise. You need to be an expert in that field. So today, we are going to build a chatbot that has some of this expertise built in. We are going to build an expert system that leads conversation by asking specific questions that help us get all the needed information to make an informed decision and eventually provide a solution for a customer. So let's just jump straight into building this chatbot. As you already seen, we have this diagram, which basically shows the whole logic of our chatbot. When a customer starts a conversation, we ask how we can help him. Once we get the input, we identify what is the intent. In case a customer is asking about dog scratching related things, we collect answers based on multiple questions, and eventually, based on those answers, we are able to identify the issue and give a solution for a customer. Now, if a customer has any more questions, he can ask those and we will provide the answers to those questions by just generating them with GPT. And in case there are no questions from the customer, he can end the conversation. Now, let's look at the questions. So we have 7 questions that help us identify the cause why a dog can be scratching. So based on how those questions are answered, we will come into one of these solutions. So we have basically 3 causes, and the 4th one is an unknown one where we don't have enough information, and a customer should definitely consult with a real vet, basically book a time to come with his dog and to have an inspection. So let's build this chatbot. So the very first thing that we will do is we ask, how can we help? So how can we help you? And after we ask this, we will be collecting response from the customer. In this case, we will be using a choice step because it allows us to clearly define what our options are in this case. So one of the things which I already did while testing things was creating this dog scratching intent. So we will be using it. And if we look at what's inside there, we basically have my dog is scratching, dog scratching, and so on. So this helps us identify this intent. The other one which we need to have is the end conversation. Again, I already have this. And if we look how this intent looks, it's pretty simple. If we ask, do you have any more questions? The customer can say no, nothing else, that's all, and so on. So, and the third option was answering any other questions that don't fall into these 2 categories. So in this case, we just will say no match and add manually. And we also have path. And The other thing that we could do is listen only for intents in this step, which are defined. So the end conversation is kind of easy. Like we just say end the conversation and that's it. In case it's a no match, we just add the question. Let's rename it. And we will be using AI response. So based on the thing that the customer wrote before, you will generate him the answer. And for the prompt, that's quite simple one. And for this example, we will not focus much on this case. And once we provide the answer, we will want to ask if there is anything else we can help our customer. And then we just go back to collecting the intent for customer. Now, if it is scratching related thing, then we need to show the questions and ask for the inputs. So for questions, it will be a simple text field, and for collecting answers, it will be buttons, because we will be collecting yes, no answers. That's the way our questions are designed, that the customer needs to answer only yes or no. So our first question. Is your dog scratching more than usual? And in here, let's see. Yes. Button. No. And what we're gonna do, first we're gonna create variables for all those 7 questions to collecting and saving the answers. Okay, so we have this. Then we want to do, we want to say that the action is set variable. This one is also set variable, and apply to. So no will be false. We will apply it to the Q1. And in here, we will also use Q1, and it will be true. So this is question 1, this is question 2, this is question 3, and yeah, no matter what is the answer, if it's true or false, yes or no, we need to go to the next question. Okay, so now we have all the questions. We collect the answers and save them to corresponding variables. The next thing that we need to do is to decide on the outcome, and for that we will be using this condition step, and we will have 4 conditions. In fact, we don't need 4, we can have 3 of them, and no match should also have a path. And in this, let's say outcome 1, in here will be outcome 2, in here will be outcome 3. Okay, and so for the outcome 1, we will need to have a text block, the same for outcome 2. Well, in fact, we will need to have text blocks for any of those outcomes. So let's just copy paste the outcomes. So the first one, the second one, and otherwise we don't know. Okay, so looks good. We will need to join the last question to this outcome block, and we will also need to join all those to the, in fact, let's make it like this. So the once we provide the answer, we should ask again if a customer has any more follow-up questions, and this one should be connected to the block itself. So, and one of the reasons why you want to connect to the blocks and not instead of the steps is that in case you add additional steps to the block, especially on top of the existing one, you might end up with a situation where you are redirected directly, well, you are directed to a specific step, and the step which was above will be skipped. So better it is to connect to the block than to the specific action, so you wouldn't make mistakes like these. Okay, so now we have everything wired up. So we have the answers to the customer. Once the answer is given, we ask if there is anything we can help. The only thing that we need to do is to add the conditions. And that's kind of painful because we will need to write a lot of them. And so let's start. We will be using the expression one. And yeah, let's see. So first question should be positive, second question positive. So let's see. Q1 and Q2, and I think it should be not Q3 and not Q4 and not Q5, and I think the 6th positive and 7th negative, and Q6 and not Q7. So if the questions were answered like this, we should end up with the outcome 1. Now let's add the expression for the other outcome. So yes, no, yes, yes, and okay. So Q1 and not Q2 and Q3 and Q4, and I think the other ones are negative, so not Q5, not Q6, and not Q7. Okay, and the third one outcome, let's see. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, no. Okay. So Q1, not Q2, and Q3, and not Q4, and Q5, and not Q6, and I think, yeah, not Q7. Not Q7. So, yeah, that should be it. Basically, to explain what is happening in here, because for our answers, we assign either true or false. So if we want to check if the answer was positive, we just enter simply the variable name. If we want to make sure that the answer was negative, we add the exclamation mark. And basically, this is a logical expression, and it basically means that everything needs to be positive. And in case if we want to have a negative answer, we just change the negative, the false one, into true with this exclamation mark, and it becomes the positive. But basically, what you need to know, if you want to check for the Q3 is negative, you just add the exclamation mark. And that's quite simple. And now I guess we can try to train our assistant. And if everything is okay, everything was done correctly. Firstly, let's just run from the beginning. How can I help? My dog is scratching. Okay, so it understood that we need to start asking questions. So let's try to focus on this food allergy. So first question is positive. The second is negative. Third is positive. Negative. Third one is positive. So fourth one is positive. Yes. And the rest of them are negative. Okay, so food allergy, and yeah, we targeted this one, we got this one. And as you can see, it's basically asking like an expert. The chatbot is asking specific questions, and based on those specific yes/no questions, you're able to collect enough context information so you could be able to identify a correct issue and a correct way how to solve it. And as you can see, like in this case, we also say that it's food allergy, and we also propose you to consult a vet. So in this case, we could add additional step to book for a visit before asking if a customer has any more questions. So yeah, and that's it for this chatbot.